Hi, friends. I just want to introduce this week's episode. It's an encore presentation with Dr. Gladys McGarey from season 1 with Lisa Rice. And I just found out that Dr. McGarey passed away in September at the age of 103. And it just makes this episode that much more of a treasure that she shared her knowledge with us before she passed away. She was a doctor. She had 6 children. She grew up in the jungles of India, and she taught us about the 5 L's of life. She met Gandhi. I mean, this woman lived. But what really stuck with me is that she learned this concept of, I think it was a Hindu concept from her mother. And she said, Kuch Bhawani. And she made this like hand gesture, like she was dropping something. Kuch Bhawani. It doesn't matter. Let it go. And that really stuck with me and resonated with me. And over the past months since I interviewed her, when I start getting worked up over something, I'll recall this saying, Kuch Bhawani, it doesn't matter. And honestly, it doesn't. It hasn't. And so I really hope that you'll give a listen. I'll be back in February with all new episodes and a new look. And so until then, take care.
I'm Lauren. And I'm Lisa. And we're flipping the script about growing older.
Our guests have been influencers since before that was even a thing. Welcome to the Anti-Aging Podcast.
Welcome to Age Like a Badass Mother.
Dr. Gladys Taylor McGarey is internationally recognized as the mother of holistic medicine. Dr. Gladys, as she's affectionately known, is board certified in holistic and integrated medicine and has held a family practice for more than 60 years. She is the co-founder of the American Holistic Medical Association and past president, as well as the co-founder of the Academy of Parapsychology and Medicine. She was the first to utilize acupuncture in the U.S. and trained other physicians how to use it. Dr. Gladys has authored 6 books, including her latest that she authored at 102 years old, called The Well-Lived Life, 102-year-old doctor's 6 secrets to health and happiness at every age. The book is absolutely brimming with love and positivity, just as the author is. Dr. McGarey has indeed lived a well-lived life. From her early childhood in India, where she helped her parents with their medical practice when she was around 8 years old, to her life as a physician and mother of 6 children, to her survival of both heartbreak and illness. She is now 103 years old and has a 10-year plan. I know we say this a lot, but Dr. McGarey truly is a badass mother in every sense of the word. Please welcome her to our podcast. Welcome.
Shabash.
Oh,
Shabash.
Good for you. You know that word.
I learned it from you, from your TED Talk.
Can you tell people what shabash means?
Shabash. It means congratulations. I mean, beyond just, that's a good thing to do. It's congratulations.
Oh, that's fantastic. So what did you do for your 103rd birthday? How did you celebrate?
I don't remember.
Did you eat cake?
We had a party and we had a little cake and stuff. But
when is your birthday? What's the date?
November 30th. It's coming up.
Coming up.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're planning something. The time before that, I rode in on a tricycle into onto the stage, on a tricycle. They thought that was good. But this time, I wasn't able to do that because I fell off. Actually, the tricycle kicked me off, and I broke 3 ribs. So,
oh goodness,
I couldn't do it. Anyway, it's
you're a prolific celebrator, though. One time you jumped out of a cake, I read. So,
yeah.
I love it. I love that you embrace it. So you were born in 1920. And I know you were born in India, but did you have electricity in your house when you were a child?
What's electricity? We lived in tents out in the villages in the jungles of North India because my parents were both physicians. They were osteopathic physicians. My mother was 1913 that got her osteopathic license, which just women just didn't. And when she went out to India with my dad, she had to be part of his luggage because she wasn't recognized as a real person. Anyway, my parents were awesome people who took their medical work to the jungles of North India, which involved living in tents, which to me was, talk about badass good stuff to do. This was wonderful. We just ran around and in and out of the jungles and climbed trees and all sorts of wonderful things. And the little Indian kids were my friends, the little kids out in the village. And they spent a lot of time rubbing my arms trying to get the white off.
Oh, that's funny.
Isn't that incredible?
Isn't it lovely?
Yes.
What role models your parents were?
Oh, awesome. Until the day they died. In fact, my mother had a sense of humor that could take almost anything and just with a little twist, add humor to it. Like the day before, actually, it was a couple of days before she died. We were sitting out on my back porch, and she looked out. My dad was sitting beside us, and she said to him, "John, look at that petunia bush. It has more than 400 flowers on it." And he says, "Oh, Beth, doesn't have more than 40. She says, "What's another zero?"
How old was she?
96.
Okay, so maybe some longevity runs in your family.
Oh, yeah.
Did your siblings live to be? Are you the only surviving sibling, or you still have siblings?
I'm the only surviving sibling, but they lived into their 90s.
And you have 4 children?
Six.
Oh, sorry, 6. 6
You
children.
forgot this one that's sitting here.
I'm astounded, though. I just want to hear a little bit about your philosophy. You live your philosophy, because I watched a little bit of a video of you talking about recovering from this accident you had on your bicycle, which for, your age is pretty incredible, that your healing journey. And what you, one of the things you talked about was listening to your own body. And I also noticed a theme in your medical practice and even your advice to your son about your role as a physician, about finding the physician within each patient and the person's ability to heal themselves, where the physician sort of assists that. I know that's a lot to talk about at once, but the point being that how you attributed that philosophy to yourself recently when you healed from your accident.
Yeah. To actually my whole life. When I was 2 years old, I had malarial hepatitis and almost died. But my parents, helped me through that. And it hasn't been an easy road. But then who wants an easy road? You want something that allows you to reach beyond where you thought you could, reaching up and out instead of back and down.
But I think you're good at listening to yourself. I think that's the key. And really just treating everybody, including yourself, with love. Is that kind of your philosophy?
It's essential. It's essential. In fact, I have what I call my 5 L's, which along the line have helped me to position these in a way that makes it understandable for me, and therefore I think understandable for other people. The first 2 go together. They can't work without each other. That life and love have to be together. It's like a woman's pregnancy. When we're pregnant, that baby and me, we're one being. Everything I eat, the baby eats. Everything I think, the baby thinks. So we're one femifesting organism. And in the process of femifesting, this being who is growing within my body, within me, become one. But the baby becomes a real person the moment it takes its first breath. It then becomes itself, and it manifests. So, we women, our job is to femifest, and it's a guy's job to manifest. But we have spent eons of time trying to manifest, and wondered what was, how come not us? This has been a song. Somehow somebody should make up a song about that. Anyway, it's the whole concept of femifesting. You want to hear about that?
Yes, please.
I spent a lot of years spending time with my dreams. If I have a dream that is important, it'll get me, or if I have a subject that I think really needs an answer, I'll work with my dreams. So this one time I woke up and it was a loud crash that woke me up. It's just like a huge something falling down. And I woke up and I found myself in one of the valleys of the high Himalayas. And on the right-hand side was a young woman just splayed out on the ground, almost dead, just barely breathing. And on the left-hand side was a huge man dressed in armor. And he was in the same position. And they were just lying there. And I said to myself, or I got the words in my head, actually, saying, these two beings have been fighting each other for eons of time with their fists. It's time they opened their fingers and recognized each other and did things together and stopped the fighting. So that was my dream. And I thought, that they're right. And to come to think of it, the woman was on the right-hand side, which is the feminine aspect of our being, and the man was on the left-hand side, which, this was the masculine, this is the feminine, left is feminine. And so I knew that this was an important message. And I had a friend who was psychic. And so when I had things that I had to talk over with her, Rosalie Dearhart, I called her in Virginia Beach. And she says, well, I've been thinking about another word that I think we should start using. And she says, we're so busy trying to manifest things that it's time that we start recognizing our own being and start femifesting.
I love that.
And as we talked about that, we realized that in order to manifest, you're climbing Jacob's ladder. You get a degree, you practice your you have a house, you get something, you manifest something. To femifest, we as women femifest all the time. We don't climb Jacob's ladder. We live in a spiral evolving. You can be on the fifth rung, on the top second rung of the spiral, and know what's going on the first and second rung down below. It's a fact that we know. You can be doing dishes with one baby in one arm and the other kids playing on the floor. It's that kind of a ability that we as women naturally have. But when we try to manifest, it bugs the heck out of us, you know?
It sounds like this could be your next book.
Yeah.
Femifesting.
I love it. Well, you know what, though? We didn't finish your 5 L's. You said life and love.
Oh, yes, life and love.
Then what?
Then it's laughter. Oh. Laughter without love is cold. It's mean. It breaks up families. It causes wars. It's not nice. But laughter with love is joy and happiness. The fourth one is labor. Labor without love is, oh man, I got to go to work. Too many diapers. Life is too hard. And we just drag ourselves through it. But labor with love is bliss. It's why you're doing what you're doing. It's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's what makes us, it asks for a good shabash. That labor with love is okay, this is what I need to do. This is what I'm here for. And so that's bliss. Mm. And the fifth one is listening. Listening without love is empty sound, the clanging gong. But listening with love is understanding. So these 5 L's have helped me put love in context with my life and what I think and what I work with and what I ask people to work with as we work together.
Yeah, love is like a central theme in your life, and I imagine, or as far as I read, that it kind of came from your moment with Gandhi. Can you talk about that? Or
well, I don't know that it came from that. I recognized something at that point. I was 9 years old, not 10. We were I was on the train, and we were coming back to the United States. My parents, every 7 years, were allowed to come back home so they could, see their family and reconnect and so on. So we were on the train coming to America. I was 10 years old, and I didn't like it. I didn't know what America was, and I didn't like it. I didn't want to go home. I wanted to stay in India. So I was having a hard time on the train by myself. I wasn't by myself, but I was by the window. And outside was we came to a train station. The train slowed down, and the huge crowd of people, which isn't unusual in India. You have crowds of people all around. But this crowd was big. There was a small man walking in front of the crowd. He had on a white dhoti. He was carrying a lathi, a staff, and just walking along, and people were chanting. I wasn't sure what they were chanting, but they were chanting something. And he came right in line with where I was looking out of my window on the train, my face placed. And he reached down to take a flower from a little girl. And when he stood up, he looked straight into my eyes, and I looked straight into his. And something happened. I've never been able to explain it. I just know what I experienced. I experienced a connection that was very real, and I knew that something was really, really important going on here. And so it made my leaving India something that I could accept better. But anyway, 30 years later, my parents worked with Gandhi in the partition of India because it was that kind of a connection where when India was really tearing itself apart with the separation of the Hindus and Mohammedans, and they needed some loving connection to bring them together. Gandhi was doing that. He was going around. That's what he was starting back at when I saw him and when we connected. But he was working with my parents at the time when it was being carried off. So I have upstairs a shawl that Gandhi gave me, gave my mother, and there's a blanket that's a Panipat blanket that Gandhi gave my dad. In other words, they were friends. They were colleagues working together, and they were friends. But the connection had started way back when I was 10 years old.
Were you ever able to tell him that?
No.
Oh.
I didn't need to.
Yes. Yeah. It sounds like his ability to approach everything with love really impacted your ability to see through that lens.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, I know that you treat, you had do you still practice? Do you still see patients? Or
I'm calling it life practice.
Life practice.
Their own life. I don't have a license. I can't practice medicine. So I don't practice medicine. But life counseling, nobody told me I had to stop talking.
Exactly. And you're so comforting. It seems like, you know what's missing from medicine, and that's love, compassion,
right.
Teaching somebody to believe in themselves. And you spent a lot of time just loving on your patients and holding their hands and asking them what's really going on in your life. And we just don't have that. Where did you learn that from your parents?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they never turned anybody away. And these were most of the people that they worked with out in the villages were the poorest of the poor. These were the villagers who lived out in the village and out in villages, out in the jungle. So, it was different.
Do you think that's where, it sounds to me like that's where it was really ingrained in you, the value of the individual? Because what I've learned from your teaching is about how you view each person as very unique and how we, each one of us, play an important role in this sort of cosmic web of the universe. And it seems to really be part of your practice and what you teach when you're empowering your patients to heal themselves.
Well, I knew when I was a little child that I was a doctor. It wasn't a question of when I became a doctor or what. My sister and she wouldn't let me play with her dolls because my dolls got sick and hers didn't. So, it was that kind of an understanding. And I let my parents know that I was a doctor. And so when I was, have you read the story about the elephant?
Can you talk about that?
Okay. When I was 9 years old, one weekend, my dad and my brothers, my two older brothers, went on a hunt. They did these hunts because in the jungles there were tigers and there were leopards and there were hyenas, and these animals attacked the villagers. And I have a big tiger skin on my wall, which my dad shot, and a leopard skin on a shelf that I shot, because these were animals that were attacking the people who had no protection. So they would come and ask my parents, my dad, to do something. So that at this time, my dad and my brothers were off on a hunt, and my mother and I and my sister and little brother were the ones who were left there. So I felt that it was my responsibility to help my mother with the work that was going on in the medical tent. And that was fine. And all of a sudden in the camp, here comes a man walking with an elephant. And he walks up to my mother and he says, Ma'am Sahib, he says, this is the Maharaja's favorite elephant. And we were on a hunt, and the elephant stepped on a bamboo stump and hurt his foot, and he's not getting over it. We don't know what happened. And so the Maharaja wants you to do something about it. My mother said to him, my mother's 5'1", okay? This little woman said, I don't treat elephants. And he said, you're a doctor. And she said, oh, yes. And so she walked up to the elephant, began patting its huge leg, which was, much bigger than she was, and talking to him. And the elephant doesn't bat an eye. It's just standing perfectly still. And so she says to me, she asked me to go into the medicine tent and get a potassium permanganate, which I knew how to fix, and a forceps, and so that she could work with it. Anyway, I knew what she was all talking about, and I went and got it. And in the meantime, she's talking to the elephant all this time, telling him that she'll do what she can. She just wasn't sure, just a good friendly talk. And the elephant doesn't move a ripple. I mean, he just stand there as quiet as anything. But so I brought the equipment and gave it to her, and she began poking around in the bottom and the sole of his foot until she found a piece of bamboo that was about 6 inches long and stuck there. And she worked with it with the forceps and loosened it up and got it out, and then took the syringe that I had brought and cleaned the whole wound with that and applied some ointment on it. And so she dressed it, and elephant still hadn't moved at all. And so when it was all done, she explained to the Mahout, the elephant boy, what he should do and how to take care of it and so on. The Mahout, the man that took care of the elephant, let us the kids walk over to the elephant, and the elephant picked us up one at a time with his snout and put us on his back. And a couple of Indian kids too. So we're sitting up there, and we walked out because this camp was on the edge of the Ganges. We walked down into the Ganges, and he gets the water and sprays us with his. Oh, we just had a hallelujah time. I mean, that was beyond shabash. And
an experience.
It was just great. So that was that day. The next day, here comes the elephant back into camp and doesn't pay any attention to what the Mahout's telling him to do. Walks straight over to where my mother is, puts his trunk around her and picks her up and starts swinging her around until finally she pats him on the snout and she said, now be a good boy and put me down.
And that's love. Another example of love. I love it. That's so good.
Well, what it is unconditional love. Mm-hmm. She had her conditions, and that was treating people until the world told her that it wasn't so. She had to treat people who came to her, no matter what shape they were in.
That's incredible. Well, I don't want to not touch on the 6 secrets of a well-lived life. I want to come back to some of your incredible childhood, but let's Can you walk us through the 6 secrets of your well-lived life? Because we all want to know how we can live like you to 103 and still be so sharp and intelligent and loving.
I told you the 5 L's, that's a great thing. The 6 secrets, we came for a purpose. We need to look for that. If we don't look for that, we're not going to find it. And we need to be able to find that. I want people to read these because I want them to read these because the importance of finding it yourself is very important. And I can tell you, but, it's sort of like the elephant. My mother had to wake up to the fact that she was a doctor. It's that, get the book or read it and find out what the six secrets are yourself, because it's essential that you understand what it is that you're looking for. In the long run, you're looking for your own juice. You're looking for what it is that's going to let you live your life wildly. So you spend your juice doing the things that your inner core tells you are the things that you are supposed to bring to this earth. No one else can do it. It's your job. But you have to find that out yourself.
Like you say, that life's challenges point us to the part of our soul that's ready to transform. But I think that's what people struggle with. Like, how do I know what I'm here for? How do you find that? How do you know when
how do you know when you found your juice?
You never know until you find it. So it's something that you're looking for. If you're not looking for it, you'll never find it. If you're always looking for something in the darkness or something that's hidden or something, but start looking for the light. Start looking for the thing that makes you juice up. How made my mother wake up? You think that at her age she'd know, but no, there was more to it. And then you don't limit it. You can limit it, and then you're stuck. But if you are always, at any age, looking for the love, light, and hope in your life, you'll find it, and no one else can find it for you, and no one else can use it for you, and no one else can make the decision. See, I have this kind of idea. This isn't any kind of theology. This is just an idea that when God, whatever God is to each one of us, created the earth, it was beautiful. It was perfect. Everything was right the way it was supposed to be. Nothing was out of order. It was wonderful. And so then she created the human being and said to us, you're the only being in this creation that has free will and choice. So I therefore give you dominion over this creation. And we, in our arrogance, thought that, he said, dominance. And so we took over, oh boy, we got it, And look what we've done. When in
what a
reality,
distinction.
Yeah, when dominion means taking care of. It's what a mother does when she takes care of her baby, not just in utero, but throughout life. This old man sitting over here is my baby, It's that ability to understand that we have dominion over the earth. And so we should treat the earth with love and concern, not tell the earth what she needs to do for us. That's not what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
That is a huge distinction and very powerful.
You also seem to have like a another theme in your life, which is around birth and helping. You talked about labor without love is just labor, but also you're talking about literal labor. You've helped a lot of women bring their babies into the world peacefully. And
when I started my education in medical school, it was just as World War II started. So everything that we were taught was about killing and getting rid of. And we're still doing that in the field of medicine. We're still trying to kill diseases and getting rid of pain. Well, I don't think that's what we're supposed to be doing. I didn't think it when I was in medical school, and the dean sent me to the psychiatrist 3 times because she didn't thought I had the right attitude. Anyway, he sent me back, and thank goodness, and I got my degree. But it's the whole idea that we, as human beings, with our choice, not only have the right to make these decisions, but it's our obligation to choose between light and darkness. And if we have chosen and we're stuck in a dark place, we can stay stuck in that dark place if we think that we're so stuck that we can't get out and we stop looking for the light. But I'm telling you, if you want to see some light, my husband and I, we were coming out here to Arizona. We stopped in the Carlsbad Caverns and went down deep, deep into the earth. And when we got down, I don't know, way down, we each had a flashlight. When we got down there, we turned off our flashlights, and it was so dark. It was black velvet. It was the darkest ever. And the guide lit one match, and it lit up the whole cavern. That one match lit up the whole cavern. It doesn't take a lot of light to light something else. If I'm walking down a walk that's dark, and I have a flashlight, and it's a good flashlight, and it's telling me what the next step is and the next step. If I'm walking like that and I see a light flickering over at the left hand that looks like it's not going to be very much, and I add my light to that, it shines the whole thing up. In other words, as we're walking our path, it's our pleasure and our responsibility to look for others who are walking their path and maybe having a lot of trouble finding it. But if we add our light to their light, it's the Carlsbad Caverns.
That is just wonderful wisdom right there. It's powerful. Dr. Gladys, you said something earlier that reminded me of the expression, it's not what happens to you, it's what happens for you, about how we view and deal with our sort of life's experiences that we consider setbacks or problems. And you've lived 103 years, and you've certainly have had your set of challenges. Can you talk a little bit more about your advice in empowering people to embrace that rather than, avoid it?
Absolutely. Everything that we experience is a lesson, whether it's a hard one or a joyful one. Everything that's in our path to experience is a lesson. And if we look at it as such, instead of, what am I going to do now? Or, what's this lesson? What's this teaching me? When I broke my ribs, I had this last time, I learned, and my kids said it in those uncertain terms, I'm not allowed to ride the tricycle anymore.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, we can be facetious about it, but really, there comes a time when I have to say, no, I can't do that anymore.
So what's the lesson? Is it acceptance or?
Well, it's accepting what I can do. I look at what, in my wildest dreams, I could have never thought of being able to talk to somebody like you the way we're doing it right now.
Right.
I mean,
it's like space age.
Way beyond the tricycle, So it's finding out what you can do and what's important to you now. That's what was important to you then. I mean, when I rode in on the tricycle to my, 102nd birthday? Yeah. That was an important thing for me to do, and I did it. But it isn't anymore. There's a time and place for everything.
Sounds like you also have a lot of gratitude.
Oh, absolutely. Years ago, my oldest daughter and I had done a lecture. A woman came up to and said to me, "What's your secret?" And I was trying to come up with something cute and smart, and I couldn't come up with anything. I got my daughter's elbow in my ribs, and she says, "Oh, Mom, you do so. No, you dwell in gratitude." And I said, "Yeah, that's right, because it's true. I absolutely dwell in gratitude. I'm so grateful for everything, every breath that I have to take, every step that I take, and every person that I meet. Look at you guys."
Oh, no, it's our honor.
We're so grateful for your wisdom and sharing it with us and your life experiences. And you're the only person I've ever heard chuckle after they said they broke 3 ribs.
Right. It's great. And I think your mom also was so good about teaching you about letting things go, right? You talk about that.
The whole Kuch Parwani. Yeah, it's like.
Can you say that again? That's like a Hindu saying.
Kuch Parwani. My sister and I were in our 90s. And we were talking, and then we'd say, Kuch Parwani, and we'd do. And all of a sudden we looked at each other and we said, "Why do we do that?"
Because you make a hand gesture. People can't see that. It's a podcast. You're making a hand gesture of letting something go, right?
Yeah. It's a hand movement. It's like taking petals in your hand and letting the hand drop down and letting those petals just go. But my sister and I are sitting here doing this hand movement and saying, Kuch Parwani, and we go on. And then we stopped and we looked at each other and we said, "Why do we do that?" And then we said, "Who did it?" And we said, Mama did it. And then we said, "And what was it she said?" And we both said spontaneously, "Kuch Parwani. It doesn't matter." And we started laughing, and we realized that we had gotten through all kinds of things that could have stopped us all along the way, but we realized that they didn't matter. We could either take that, like somebody said something mean about me or something like, and take it in and say, "Oh, that hurt my feelings." Then you take it in and becomes very, very nasty, and you hang on to it, and it makes their day bad. But if it happens and you think, "Oh, Kuch Parwani," and you let your hand drop, you don't even remember it. You don't even remember what it was that you were talking about. It just doesn't matter.
I love the idea of having a physical thing that you do.
Yeah.
to help you unload it.
It doesn't matter. Kuch parwa nahi. And kuch parwa, kuch means it, parwa means matter. And, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, because when you hold on to those things, you even talk about that holding a grudge makes you physically sick.
Oh yeah.
Right? How do you, for somebody who is holding on to a grudge, how do you get to that point of forgiveness? How can you talk about that a little bit?
When we put too much emphasis and we think we're something, we should learn from that, and so on. Let me tell you a funny thing that happened. When I'd had my 99th birthday, and I was coming home from the birthday party. I stopped at the grocery store, and I was taking my stuff out into the car, and an elderly gentleman came by, and he said, "Oh, may I help you?" And I said, No, I can do it myself. And he said, so he puffs himself up and stands up, and he says, "Well, I'm 86 years old." And I looked up at him and I said, I'm 99. And I marched off with my stuff and got into the car. And I sat down in the seat and I said, "You nasty old woman." He was just a nice old man that was trying to do a nice old thing. And you better get up and go into the grocery store and apologize. But then I got to thinking, no way. First of all, it doesn't matter. Secondly, it's downright funny. The two kindergarten kids in the sandbox puffed up, and I started laughing, and I laughed so hard I couldn't have gotten up anyway. And I thought, by now, he's gone home and he's said to his wife, "You know what happened at the grocery store?" I said, I could help her. This nasty old woman said. So I thought, it's a story it's funny. It's really something that could be laughed at. And it's that kind of an acceptance of something that you do. I mean, that was nasty. It really was a nasty thing for me to do. But it really was funny, too.
Well, I love that how you're telling the story, though, because you're practicing, and I don't know how to say it, the letting go. Say it again. On yourself, because I think, you had this moment where you realized, oh, that was a nasty thing for me to do, but then you let it go and you saw the other side of this man probably has this fun story he gets to tell everyone. And I think that's a huge lesson, because we beat ourselves up so much for things that are sort of, instinctual, and we're not mean.
Do I have time for another story?
Yes, please.
When I was 9 years old, my third grade teacher appointed me as class governor, because prior to that, I'm dyslexic, and I was so dyslexic I couldn't read or write, but I could talk. But my first grade teacher called me the class dummy, and everybody called me the class dummy and all of that. It was horrible. But Miss McGee saw something, and I could talk. I couldn't read. I couldn't write. Nothing made any sense. But I was doing something that she saw that I was worth something. So I became the class governor. And I was asked to take the work that we did in the third grade to the whole student body. And part of that was a play. And the play was The Frog Jumped Over the Pond. And so I was the frog because, first of all, I was bigger than anybody else in the class because I had to repeat the first grade. Secondly, I could do this. And so my mother made me a frog suit and dyed it green and came out onto the platform full of knowing I could do this. I mean, this was something I could do. And I walked out full of confidence, but in the first row of the audience where my two older brothers were sitting there. And it just threw me off my step enough so that instead of jumping over the pond, the frog jumped into the pond. So I'm standing in the pond. My suit is fading because my mother had used cheap dye, and it's fading into the pan. I'm crying. I can't move. I'm absolutely stuck. I can't move. The audience is hysterical. They're just doubled up laughing. They're hooting and laughing, and I'm broken. I'm totally lost. The teacher has to come and take me off the stage. And when I get home, we're at the dinner table, and my brothers are telling my mother about what happened, and I'm giving them the devil's eye, and they're not looking at me. So, this is going on. Finally, my mother says, all right, boys, now, you've had your fun. What can we do as a family to help Gladys if she ever does anything like this again so that she is able to handle it? I have no idea what the family decided, but I know that as a family, we decided that there is some way of handling this that would let me have people laugh with me and not at me. And so, because, I still have this dyslexia thing. I still quite often will stumble, and as I'm coming up, I'm awkward when I walk. So I might stumble, and, when I'm coming up. But if I do, I've got the audience in my hand before I can even say anything, because I know certain little things that I can say, like, oh, I'm such a drama queen. And there's some little thing like that catches the audience, and I've got my audience before I need to, Anyway, it's my mother's ability to help me understand what was worth taking and what was worth learning from and what was a kuchbarwani.
Boy, you're lucky to have that family.
Oh, isn't that something? And I'm so lucky to be able to share it with you.
Yes, and with everybody, sharing your mother's wisdom of making that. And I love, that, you go to finding the humor in it, because you said that when you laugh, it tickles your adrenals. And I didn't know that. I read that in your book. That's crazy. That we always know, they say laughter is the best medicine, but now we know why. It actually has a physical effect on you. That's incredible.
It tickles the adrenals. Your diaphragm lies right over the adrenals. And adrenals are where fear and hate and anger and all those amazing energies are, but also laughter. And if the adrenals are tickled when you laugh, they kind of pump. It helps.
I love the image of the tickled adrenals.
Do you meditate?
My meditation is something that is so personal and so deep that it's very hard for me to even explain it to anybody. I say to each one of us, find your own. Mm. And when you find your own, you'll know it.
Mm. Oh, do you have any very specific practices that you do to help keep you both mentally and physically strong, like daily practices or weekly practices that are very conscious as you age?
Well, I have a walker, and I try to walk 3,000 feet, which I'm not doing a very good job of a lot of times. But it's I walk as much as I can with the walker. I didn't want to walk with a walker, and I avoided it for a long time. But now it's my buddy. And I take him along wherever I go. I need support of that walker. So, there are things like that as my body is able to do some of the things. Now, like, for instance, what we're doing right now. How in the world could I have ever imagined being able to do what we're doing right now? I mean, this is beyond my imagination. And yet, here we are. So I don't want to limit myself to a certain specific practice that I've done at certain times in my life that were really important. And then there's something else came along and life moves. And in the process of moving, there are little trickles around the edge of the block where things get blocked. And they are what sometimes are what are important and what you pay attention to. So I really feel that each one of us needs to pay more attention to each one of us, to what it is that we're saying to me. Not to me, but to you, to me, you.
It sounds like embracing change is also a very powerful practice.
Oh, yeah. If you really look for the answer in everything that you experience, you find the answer.
There. That is huge. I'm going to write that down and put it on my refrigerator.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gladys.
And we look forward to what's coming next.
Yes.
All right, we'll see.
Hope you'll stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Be well. Can't wait to see what you do on your 104th birthday. Mwah. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, friends. Lauren here. Well, that's a wrap on season 1. My big takeaways from season 1 are to get adequate restorative sleep, something I am desperately working on, to eat real whole foods, to lead with love and kindness, and to advocate for yourself in any situation, but especially in a health crisis. And most of all, listen to yourself. That little voice inside your head knows what she's talking about. I'll see you soon for season 2. I have some phenomenal guests lined up. Until then, keep living like a badass mother.